You're sitting alone late at night, phone in your hand, screen lighting up your face. You tell yourself you won't check it again, but your thumb moves anyway. No message, no sign, just silence. And in that silence, your chest feels tight, like something important is slipping away. I want you to stay with me here, because this moment is not weakness. This moment is the doorway. You didn't go into hiding because you were small. You went into hiding because you were gifted, sensitive, aware. You noticed early how much you affected people, how your honesty made some uncomfortable, how your needs felt like too much. So you learned to pull back, to soften yourself, to wait. I promise I'll explain later how this pattern started, and why it was never your fault. And I'll also explain later why the very thing you're afraid of right now is the thing that will set you free. Silence feels unbearable to you, because you were trained to manage connection. Somewhere along the way you learned that love meant effort, checking in, smoothing things over, making sure the bond didn't break. Silence feels like danger, like abandonment. Your body reacts before your mind can catch up. Your heart says do something, fix this, reach out. But here's the truth most people never hear. Silence is not empty. Silence is information. No contact feels hard because it takes away your old role, the role of the one who holds everything together, the one who senses the mood, adjusts, and reaches first. When you stop, there is nothing to distract you from your own feelings. That's why it feels so intense. But that intensity is not harming you, it's waking you up. When you stop chasing, you return to yourself. Chasing lowers your position not because it makes you unworthy, but because it teaches your nervous system that connection only happens when you abandon yourself. Every unanswered message, every delayed reply you explain away. Every time you shrink your needs just to keep someone close, you send yourself a message. The message is, my feelings come second. Over time, that erodes your self-respect quietly, slowly, until you don't recognize yourself anymore. I know you don't chase because you want control. You chase because you care. You chase because you feel deeply. But depth without boundaries turns into exhaustion. Love without self-respect turns into anxiety. And attention given too freely loses its weight. Here's something important. When you step back, it feels like you're losing power. In reality, you're redistributing it. You're taking it out of the other person's hands and bringing it back into your body. That's uncomfortable at first. Your system isn't used to it. You're used to regulating yourself through others' responses. I'll explain later how to calm that urge in a way that doesn't harden you or shut you down. Silence is powerful because it creates space. Space for truth to show itself. Space for you to feel what you've been avoiding. Space for the other person to reveal how invested they really are without your constant effort propping things up. This is not a game, it's clarity. And clarity can be frightening if you've survived by hoping. When you don't reach out, your mind starts telling stories. Maybe they forgot me. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I should just say one more thing. These thoughts are not facts. They are echoes of an old survival strategy. A strategy that once kept you connected but now keeps you small. When you stop chasing, you return to yourself. There is a quiet dignity in restraint, not punishment, not withdrawal out of pride, but restraint rooted in self-respect. It says, I value connection, and I also value myself. I don't disappear, and I don't overextend. I let things reveal themselves at their own pace. If someone can only feel close to you when you're performing emotional labor, that is not intimacy. That is dependency. And your nervous system knows the difference, even if your heart is still catching up. You might be wondering, what if I lose them by staying silent? That fear deserves honesty. If silence causes someone to drift away, ask yourself what was holding them there before. Was it mutual care, or was it your constant availability? I'll come back to this later, because the answer matters more than you think. You are not too much. You were just taught to give too much. There is a difference, and learning it changes everything. Right now, your work is not to act, it's to notice. Notice how your body feels when you don't reach for the phone. Notice the urge rise and fall like a wave. Notice that you are still here breathing, even when you don't fix anything. This is the beginning of coming out of hiding. Not by force, but by choice. You don't need to prove your value by being available on demand. Your presence already has weight. When you stop diluting it, others feel it more clearly, and so do you. We're just getting started. In the next part, we'll look deeper at what actually happens inside your mind and theirs when you step back, and how this shift changes the entire dynamic in ways you may not expect. When you step back, something subtle but important happens inside you first. Your nervous system has been used to scanning, anticipating, reaching. It learned early that closeness required effort. So when you stop, your body protests. It feels like danger, even when nothing bad is actually happening. This is psychology, not fate. Your system is adjusting to a new rule. The rule is that connection does not require self-erasure. Stepping back interrupts an old loop. Before anxiety rose and action followed. Texting, calling, explaining, fixing. The action brought temporary relief, but it also reinforced the belief that you are responsible for holding everything together. When you don't act, the anxiety still rises, but now it has nowhere to go. It peaks, and then, if you let it, it falls. This is how your body relearns safety, not through control, but through tolerance. When you stop chasing, you return to yourself. At the same time, something shifts in the other person's mind. When you were always available, your presence blended into the background. It became expected. Not because they didn't care, but because the human mind adapts quickly to consistency. Effort that never pauses loses contrast. When you step back, contrast returns. Space creates awareness. They begin to feel what you were buffering them from. The quiet. The absence of your emotional labor. The lack of reassurance. This doesn't automatically make them change, but it does reveal who they are without your constant support. Some people lean in with respect. Others grow distant. Both responses are information. You might think, if I stop reaching out, they'll forget me. More often, the opposite happens. Without your steady presence, they have to sit with their own thoughts. They notice the gap. They wonder, not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle one. And subtle shifts are often the most honest. This is not manipulation. Manipulation is acting to control an outcome. Stepping back is acting to restore balance. You are no longer overfunctioning so the connection can survive. You are allowing it to stand on its own legs. When the urge to text hits, don't fight it. Fighting creates tension. Instead, slow it down. Name it quietly. This is an urge, not a command. Take one deep breath into your chest, one into your belly, and one long exhale. Give yourself 10 minutes. Most urges crest and pass if you don't immediately obey them. Change the channel of your body. Stand up, stretch your arms. Put your feet on the ground and feel their weight. Anxiety lives in the future. The body lives in the present. Bring yourself back there. If your hands still want to reach for the phone, write what you want to say on paper instead. Don't send it. Let it exist without consequence. When you stop chasing, you return to yourself. Another practical step is to set small, clear containers. Decide ahead of time when you will and won't check your phone. Not as punishment, but as protection. This gives your nervous system predictability. Predictability creates calm. Calm creates choice. What you focus on daily now matters more than what you say to anyone else. Your task is not to obsess about whether they miss you. Your task is to rebuild your relationship with your own attention. Where does it go when you're not managing someone else's feelings? Put your energy into what grounds you. Movement that brings you into your body. Work that reminds you of your competence. Conversations that feel mule, not draining. Silence that feels restorative, not empty. These are not distractions. They are repairs. Notice how your self-image shifts when you stop chasing. You start to feel more solid, less reactive. You respond instead of anticipate. This changes how you show up everywhere, not just in one relationship. People feel that steadiness. You feel it too. There may be moments when you doubt this path. When loneliness whispers that any connection is better than none. Listen carefully. Loneliness is a feeling, not a directive. It passes when you stay present with it. Regret lasts longer when you abandon yourself. When you stop chasing, you return to yourself. Stepping back also brings up grief. Grief for how much you gave. Grief for how little was sometimes returned. Let that grief move through you. Don't harden against it. Softness with boundaries is strength, not weakness. You are learning a new rhythm, one where effort is shared, one where silence is not an emergency, one where your worth is not measured by responsiveness. This rhythm may feel unfamiliar, but it is closer to who you actually are. In the next part, we'll talk about what to do when the outcome becomes clear, how to respond if they step forward, and how to hold yourself with dignity if they don't. For now, stay here. Stay with the discomfort without running from it. This is where your power is reorganizing itself. If they come back, this is where many people lose themselves again, not because they are weak, but because hope wakes up old patterns. The message arrives. The call happens. Suddenly your body remembers how much you wanted this. Slow down here. Coming back does not automatically mean things are different. It only means there is an opening. How you step into it matters. Move at a pace that keeps you regulated, not excited. You don't need to explain everything you felt while they were gone. You don't need to rush in closeness to secure the connection. Let actions lead. Watch consistency. Watch how they handle your boundaries without you defending them. A healthy reconnection feels steady, not urgent. Standards are quiet. They live in what you allow, not what you announce. You don't overgive to prove safety. You don't chase reassurance. You notice how you feel after interactions, calmer or tighter, seen or managed. Your body will tell you what your mind might try to justify. When you stop chasing, you return to yourself. If they come back but only want the old version of you, the one who adjusted and waited and held everything together, that is important information. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to be met. It's okay to say less. It's okay to take space even after reconnection. You are allowed to protect the ground you've reclaimed. Now, if they don't come back, this is where the deeper work completes itself. Silence in this case is not rejection. It is revelation. It shows you what the relationship required to survive, and it shows you what it could not become. Closure may not arrive as a conversation. It often arrives as acceptance. Acceptance that you showed up fully. Acceptance that you no longer need to chase an answer that was already given through absence. This kind of closure is quieter, but it is stronger. It doesn't depend on anyone else's understanding. Grieve what you hope for without shaming yourself for hoping. You were responding from care, not neediness. But now you respond from clarity. Dignity is choosing not to reopen wounds just to feel connected. Dignity is letting the door close without slamming it or standing in front of it waiting. When you stop chasing, you return to yourself. Moving forward doesn't mean becoming guarded or cold. It means becoming honest with yourself. You stop confusing intensity with intimacy. You stop earning love through effort. You build a life that feels full enough that connection becomes a choice, not a rescue. Silence reveals truth either way. If someone steps forward with respect, silence showed you what was possible. If they disappear, silence showed you what was never sustainable. In both cases, silence was not the enemy, it was the mirror. Here is a fast summary. Stepping back interrupts old survival patterns. Chasing trades self-the-peck for temporary relief. Silence brings clarity and balance. If they return, move slowly, keep your standards, and watch behavior. If they don't, choose dignity, allow grief, and keep walking forward. Either outcome brings you closer to yourself. One clear action step now. For the next week, commit to responding instead of initiating in emotional moments. When the urge to reach out appears, pause and ask, am I seeking connection or relief? If it's relief, turn inward. Breathe, right? Move your body. Let the wave pass. This is how trust in yourself is rebuilt. When you stop chasing, you return to yourself. You were never meant to hide forever. You hid because it kept you safe at a time when you needed it. But now, safety comes from alignment, not effort. From knowing you can stand in your worth without being constantly chosen. There is a calm power in this place. You don't uplead. You don't disappear either. You stay present, rooted and clear. And from that place, the right connections don't need to be chased. They recognize you. If this resonated with you, the next video will help you understand how gifted, sensitive people rebuild trust in themselves after years of self-abandonment, and how to recognize connections that are truly safe to step into.